Okay. So we have been focusing on joy, and Fabiola gave such a lovely invitation on Monday, all of the different ways we can connect to, receive joy in our lives and in the practice on the meditation cushion. And so we're moving from the Brahmavihara of mudita, joy, to equanimity. And I realize that usually when we have a change in subject, we spend a little bit of time with the holding environment, coming back to the holding environment. And I don't know that I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to start with equanimity on Monday. So I thought I'd sort of integrate it a little bit and come back to the holding environment and think a little bit about how the Brahmaviharas are so woven into the holding environment and pay some special attention to equanimity as we begin to move into that. So, this idea of the holding environment, what Bill and Susan call the holding environment in our practice, in so many ways is our practice, right? But is our inner spaciousness, our inner environment, our posture of attention and care and presence that we take time to establish and to tend to throughout our practice and throughout our days. It is what holds us in our practice, and it's what allows us to keep wanting to come back. And as I said, right, all of the Brahmaviharas can be woven in. So, of course, we need metta, kindness, friendliness to welcome ourselves back into the cushion, back to the practice, to welcome and befriend all that can show up and move through when we are sitting, to invite ourselves to practice gently, right? To come back with kindness when we get lost. So, metta, so foundational to our inner holding environment. Compassion, karuna. Practicing is hard. There's going to be struggle, there's going to be bumps, painful phenomena, physically, emotionally, mentally, around us is going to be coming and going. So we need compassion woven into our holding environment to care for that, to be loving and compassionate with that. And mudita, we've been focusing on so much. Right? We want, as we sit, to have a holding environment that can help us recognize and savor and appreciate and notice the pleasant and the uplifting and the wondrous. And then equanimity, I just really believe this is foundational to our holding environment. It's like the foundation at the bottom. And do we need to feel 100% equanimity to practice? No, no, of course not. But, inviting that in as we set up our practice. So equanimity, that steadiness that supports our ability to stay, to hold the comings and goings of pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, fear, happiness, grief. And really, in many ways, equanimity has that quality of ease and peace and okayness in the face of whatever's arising, in the face of the worldly winds. And there's a quote, really short line in the Dhammapada that I realized actually gets repeated a few times that I think is helpful when it comes to equanimity and to this idea of our holding environment. The wind cannot overturn a mountain. The wind cannot overturn a mountain. And this feels like a quote about equanimity, having steadiness, even in the midst of all of the great worldly winds, the winds of change within and around us. The winds that we don't necessarily have control over, can we be a mountain steady and not toppled over? And so it made me think a little bit of a story that many of you maybe have heard. I remember David gave a really beautiful talk about this years ago. The story of a poet, Su Dongpo, who practiced Buddhism. And he felt like he had just arrived at a place where he was steady, like he had done it. He had conquered the winds. And so he writes this poem, and the end of it, it ends with, even the eight winds cannot move me at all. And he sends us across the river to this monk who he studies with, Master Foyan. Master Foyan reads this, takes his quill or his pen, and he writes fart across the poem. And he sends it back. And Su Dongpo is furious. This is so disrespectful. He wrote this beautiful poem about his steadiness. And he, immediately goes across the river to meet with Master Foyan and confront him. And Master Foyan says, "Ah, so the eight winds cannot move you. Yet one fart blew you all the way across the river," right? It's just like, yeah, that's what happens. We think that we're so steady, and we are blown about by the wind so quickly, so easily. And how much space we need inside to withstand the winds. And so I had my own little mini experience of this that I was going to share, partly because I realized I often share stories about sounds and how much I realized I have such auditory sensitivity. This is one of my places where I'm so easily tipped, overwhelmed, distracted, or irritated by sound. And so here's me going for a walk in my neighborhood. Really simple story, could happen any day. And I live on the edge of kind of a mid-century neighborhood that's kind of enclosed. And so it's not a lot of cars or people there unless you live there. And so I'm excited to see the sun, going for a walk. And the person who delivers the mail is in their little truck, going from house to house to house to house. And for whatever reason, the way they do that, they seem to hit the gas really hard and fast, and then the brakes really hard and fast. So it's just like house, 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 house doing this. And I was just in their route for the whole time. And I thought it was really funny metaphor for non-equanimity. I kept trying to figure out a way to get out of the path of the mail truck, right? Maybe if I go down this street, maybe if I go down that street. And it totally didn't matter. Wherever I went, I was right with the mail truck, right with me. And then there was someone, of course, trimming the grass, and someone blowing leaves, and then someone power washing the side of their house. There was someone on a motorcycle who seemed to be sort of riding around back and forth. So a lot of sound. And it was just really good to watch my mind. I had gone on this walk to actually think about this talk. So it was kind of hilarious to be like, here it is right here. Um, and, and how out of balance I go, and how my holding environment gets so small, right? When there is something I don't like, it's unpleasant, I don't want this. But of course, so grateful for the Dharma. Here I am thinking about the holding environment and was so able to see, like, oh, this person delivering the mail, they're certainly not trying to get in my way. They're doing a job. They have something they need to do on this beautiful day. And the people power washing and getting their lawn, like they're trying to beautify their homes. And can I hold just, you have a right to be here, of course. Thinking about Bill, right to be here. And tend to my activation, make a little more of that space, that holding environment inside, not be blown about by the winds of a few sounds. Can my metta, my care, my compassion, And my inherent okayness be a little steadier than that, more like the mountain. And so this is that holding environment on and off the cushion. Why we need metta, compassion, mudita, equanimity, all there balancing each other. And equanimity in particular, right, brings that wisdom to see what's in our control and what's not, to see that the nature of life is impermanent, always changing, and to see how easy it is, like that poet, maybe in the moment when he wrote that, easy to have conditioned equanimity when everything is just so, but much more difficult to have the Brahmavihara, unconditional equanimity, not dependent on conditions. No matter what is happening, the wind cannot overturn that mountain, cannot blow me across the river. So as we move from joy, and yes, that's still our practice, equanimity can help us be with the instability of joy. And kind of watch it come and go, holding that space inside. So I really wanted to come back to our holding environment, how we tend to that in every aspect of our practice, and so that we can keep stabilizing and tending to this inner mountain, this inner heart that can care so deeply, can be so fully present and available, and yet also so steady that it cannot be overturned. So thank you so much for listening. And yeah, let's let's turn to that, to just kind of setting up our practice, our posture, our holding environment, maybe bringing a couple of refreshing breaths inside to open up some space. Can always be helpful to move. And that might be standing and shaking out. It might be really soft, gentle stretches or shifts. Mm. Often rocking side to side if we're sitting, or swaying to help just feel for that balance at the sit bones. Bringing that welcoming and friendliness to ourselves for even coming to the practice, coming to the sit today. Even when it's hard, even when a lot's going on. And perhaps notice how the body is feeling, the energy in the body, and what might support a little uplift or presence, energy. Focusing on the in-breath, or maybe what's needed is some soothing and slowing down, and really savoring the exhalation, letting the eyes close or the hands be face down on the body, on the legs, can signal a bit more quiet. And perhaps notice the solidity of the body, even as it moves and breathes. as if we were a mountain. And we might also bring into our holding environment, if it feels supportive, just the acknowledgement that Bill and Susan, Fabiola, our other teachers and Sangha mates, many are gathered together at Copper Beach right now practicing. And so that sense of practicing together, even when we may not be in the same space. And allow yourself to observe with care, with patience, all that is moving and passing. Perhaps letting the attention settle with one object that's moving, coming and going, like the breath or sounds, body sensations. Soft, steady attention, receptive attention. And if it feels right, perhaps gently noticing if there's anything that might support your practice a little more right now, might support your inner environment, your inner spaciousness. Mm, maybe a few breaths, some gentle movement, patience, kindness. Thank you for your practice and your presence. It's wonderful, really, to be with you all. Um, and I'll let everyone unmute to say goodbye, and also wanting to send a lot of love to folks on the retreat this week. But yeah, you should be able to unmute now.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Much.
much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're
Our
welcome.
holding environment, so important.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Catherine.
Thank you. Have a good day. It's good to
You
hear all
Great
your
too.
to see
voices.
everyone.